Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Ralph Levine, and I'm speaking on behalf of People for Animal Welfare of New Mexico. We have watched the agenda for this meeting evolve over the past few days. As of Monday night, there was no item dealing with a committee on the animal ordinance on the Internet. This item suddenly appeared on the Internet this morning. Is this what we mean about open, transparent, and ethical government? We were assured by the Chief of County Legal that an amendment would be developed in time to introduce to this Commission for a vote on the December 14th meeting. Yet, though we were given the assurance that the amendment would be ready to be voted on December 14th, there were no steps taken by County Legal to make that vote possible. And now it seems that we cannot possibly have this amendment voted on by the last meeting of this Commission, which is December 14th. Is this what open, transparent, and ethical government is all about? A few days ago, I found some very fine words on a campaign website. Chairman De La Cruz, I'm glad to say these words came from you, and I completely agree with them. Let me quote, "Think about it. While you sit in stifling traffic, are all those county studies really solving our problems?" Art De La Cruz will cut through the smoke and mirrors. Instead of studies, we need results. Government is not about sitting on your hands. It's about getting out and representing the needs of the district. Art De La Cruz understands that you cannot feed or protect a family on county studies alone. End quote. Again, I want to say that I concur with your words. These words tell it like it is. Ongoing studies do nothing to improve a community or protect a family. Nor do endless studies do anything to protect animals from the winter cold, from the driving rain, from blistering sun, from hunger, from thirst, from the suffering that comes when humane animal laws cannot be enforced due to vague language. As you implied on your website, action and not studies are what's needed to improve a community. You alluded to studies being the equivalent of smoking mirrors. I agree with you and thank you for your insightful words. The animals of Bernalillo County have been waiting for humane treatment for 2 years since the ordinance was passed, and many years before then. It's time to take action. It's not time for committees. It's time to get results. Allowing animals to continue to suffer 2 years after passage of this ordinance is both unconscionable and inexcusable. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Zora Hess, followed by Robert DeYoung.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Zora Hess. Several months ago, I went to a meeting way up in the Northeast Heights. I think it was called Singing Arrow, and it concerned amendments to the county animal care ordinance. The room was absolutely packed, and I was lucky I found a seat. There was discussing the vagaries of terms such as adequate and regular, because what is adequate and regular to me may not be to someone else, and vice versa. These amendments do not change the intent of the law or the animal ordinance of Bernalillo County. They are merely clarification of terminology to make it easier for, one, animal control officers so that they know what their roles are, and makes it easier for their job to be done. It is also public education so that the populace understands what they have to do concerning animal welfare and maintenance. It is also easier for judges so that when a case is brought before Metro Court, they have some basis for a ruling. I really feel that the amendments are strictly terminology. They are not changes in any ordinance, and they are actually a win-win situation for everyone involved. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Next we have, there he is, Robert DeYoung.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Thank you for making time for me to speak. I am Robert DeYoung. I am on the Board of Directors of the Rio Grande Kennel Club and serve as its legislative liaison. I am also a Bernalillo County property owner with property in the unincorporated northeast corner of the county. At the Bernalillo County Animal Care Services Ordinance, because it doesn't meet their interpretation of the intent of the ordinance. That ordinance was enacted less than 2 years ago after more than a year of public input that developed general consensus. All too often, I've seen groups like Paul and M use emotional pleas to keep moving the middle because what happened wasn't what was quote-unquote intended. Well, you know, I've reviewed some of their new proposals regarding restraint in animal care and maintenance, and I can see many new unintended consequences that they'll want to fix again in a couple of years. First, I'll give you 2 examples. First, a minimum of 200 square feet of space for a dog. You know, that may really be too much for a Chihuahua to protect and feel safe, but it's much too little for a Greyhound to get proper exercise. Hence the reason why the current ordinance refers to adequate living space, because it's difficult to define what an animal actually needs. Requiring extra food when the temperature falls below 40 degrees Fahrenheit. You know, proper feeding of an animal takes several things into consideration, and many of them, including size and activity level, are more critical than temperature. If the requirement of 40 degrees additional food when the temperature falls below 40 degrees is enacted, I can assure you we may have a lot of fat animals in Bernalillo County in the spring. What is Paul and M going to do about that unintended consequence at that point in time? In closing, if this committee is formed, I encourage each of you to assure it has truly balanced and pragmatic representation, including county officials, pet and livestock owners, sportsmen, animal care professionals, and animal care welfare groups operating in unincorporated Bernalillo County, and any proposed changes receive a thorough airing in all communities in unincorporated Bernalillo County. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you. Next we have Barbara Tellier. Apologize if I said that incorrectly.
Yes, my name is Barbara Tellier. I'm president of the Alliance yesterday, Monday. However, the county supposedly complied by placing a hard copy on the desk in the manager's office lobby, mid to late afternoon. This may satisfy the Open Meetings Act, but it doesn't seem ethical. Does the public have to drive to Civic Plaza and pay parking to ensure that nothing has been added or taken off the original agenda? This does not reflect the spirit of the Open Meetings Act or open government. This committee on definitions will only stall the ordinance enforcement that the definitions were meant to clarify. Thank you for your time. Any questions?
Thank you. Next